Howdy doody everybody, it's Mrs. MacPhail. Today your objective is to be able to use the number line to model fractions. So I can use the number line to model fractions. So here we go. Let's check in on some vocabulary first. We're going to be using number lines today, and number lines are a line with numbers marked in order on it. We use them to tell us what numbers are bigger, what numbers are smaller. We skip count on them. They're pretty much all around awesome, and they'll also help us with fractions. Let's go back and just check in and make sure that we understand some concepts. The denominator, remember, is that bottom number, and it tells us the number of equal parts into which the whole has been divided. So let's take a look at my pizza down here. Lucky for you, I made you a pizza, and I decided that my pizza I wanted cut into 6 slices. So you can see, even though these are green slices down here, I'll tell you why in a second, but I have 6 equal slices of pizza, so they're cut into sixths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay? So that is my denominator, the number of equal parts into which my whole pizza has been divided. These are equal pieces. My numerator tells me the number of equal parts that are selected. That's why these are green. I got really hungry and I ate your pizza. I'm really sorry, but I was super hungry, and I ate 1, 2, 3, 4 slices out of 6 slices. I'm going to say that again. I ate 4 slices out of 6 slices. 4 were the number of equal parts selected, and 6 represents the number of whole equal pieces in my pizza. So I ate 4/6 of the pizza. How can we use number lines to help us model fractions? Well, I wanted to show you a tool of mine, and these are some fraction strips, and I want to show you how I'm going to cut them out to use them to help model fractions on a number line. So get ready, because here we go. Alright, so I have my fraction strips here. And in class we're actually going to be folding these together, but I wanted to just give you an example of how this is going to be done and how we actually use our number line to make fractions. I'm going to focus on my whole piece here and then my halves, and I'll save the rest for later. Alright? The whole means that there's just one. We have a 0 on the left and the 1. This is the one whole piece, okay? There's no parts of it, it's just one. Alright? It's happy by itself. Here's my halves piece. Now I know the word halves usually involves, or always involves I should say, the number 2 in the denominator because it's a half of something. So if I want to take my whole and make it into halves, I have to divide it into half. So I'm just going to fold over my number center, or my number strip, and I'm going to line the edges up so they meet nice and neat and make a nice crease. Because when I open it back up, I'm going to use that crease to help me recognize where that equal part is, alright? Here's where I folded it. I'm just going to make a hash mark for you, okay? Now, I have 2 equal pieces. So if I know that there's 2 equal pieces that I divided a whole into, I know that that is going to be my denominator. So my denominator is going to be the 2 equal pieces that I divided my whole into. So everywhere where I made like this division here is going to get a 2 as well in the denominator, and then where the 0 is on our whole number line, we're going to put a 2 here as well because we're dealing with 2 as the whole now. Alright? It's still 1, but we're working with 2 pieces that we divided it into. Now let's talk about selected pieces. If I don't select any of my pieces, that's 0. 0 halves have been selected, or 0 out of 2 pieces. If I select all of my pieces, let's say I divided a pizza into 2 and I ate both slices, I would eat 1 slice or half the pizza, and then 2 slices, or 2 halves, or 1 whole. So this hash mark on the way right side represents 1, or here, since I have 2 pieces, and I'm selecting 2 pieces, 2 halves. I also know that halfway between the numbers 0 and 2 would be the number 1. So it makes sense to me that in the middle here, my numerator would be 1, and my denominator is still 2 pieces. Now let's think if it makes sense like this. If we were to start on the left-hand side and think to ourselves, as we go over to the middle here, this represents 1 out of 2 equal pieces. Continuing on, if we were to go from 1/2 to the right, this would be 2 out of 2 pieces now. So I've divided it into thirds. I have 3 equal pieces. So my denominator is going to be out of 3, and I'm going to make a line at each of my folds. Notice that I'm actually writing 4 numbers, but keep in mind that we're starting at 0 pieces out of 3 whole pieces that are made here. Here's 1 piece, 2 pieces, and 3 equal pieces. But if I have none selected, I'm going to have 0 thirds. If I take this first piece, this would represent 1 out of my 3 whole pieces. So this would be 1/3 at this first mark. Going on to my next mark, my next fold, this represents 1 piece, 2 pieces out of 3 pieces total. So that would be 2/3. Going on, if I wanted to finish my last one, I would go, this would be 1 piece, 2 pieces out of 3 pieces, 3 pieces out of 3 pieces. Here's something else you can do with your number lines. You can actually use them to compare fractions. For example, if I wanted to know, is 1/3 larger or smaller than 1? It's kind of like using a ruler here. If this is 1/3, 1 out of 3 selected pieces, that's way farther to the left than where my 1 whole piece is over here. So therefore, I know that 1/3 is smaller than 1 whole. The 3 out of 3 would also be 1 whole. 3/3 is equal to 1 whole. What fraction is between 1/3 and 3/3? Well, here's 1/3, 1 piece out of 3 pieces, and here's 3/3, 3 pieces out of 3 pieces. 1, 2, 3 pieces. If this is 1/3 and that's 3/3, I know that 2/3 is in between 1/3 and 3/3. Here's yet another thing that I can do with my number lines. I can use them to help me with rules, including adding and subtracting fractions. For example, I have a puzzle here that is asking me to use the rule 1/8 more to fill in the rest of my boxes. I'm starting at 3/8, so 3 selected pieces out of 8 total equal pieces. Alright, I have my 8ths number line that I've done down below, and you can see I've divided it into 8 equal pieces, so I can use this to help me. For example, I see that I'm starting at 3/8, so I can use my number line and find 3/8, which is right here, which makes sense. This is 1 out of 3 pieces, 1 out of 8 pieces, 2 out of 8 pieces, and 3 out of 8 pieces. Since I'm counting by eighths, and it says 1/8 more each time, it makes sense that if I would add on 1/8, I would go to 4/8. I'm just adding on another eighth of a piece. Think about if you're eating another eighth of a pizza, right? You're eating another 1 out of 8 slices. So if it wants me to do another 1/8 or add on another eighth after 4/8, I would just find 4/8 on here and say, well, look at that. My next one is 5/8. That's just 1/8 more. I also see that there's a pattern with the denominators here, how they're not changing, but the numerators are changing by 1. Interesting. Going on, another 1/8 would bring us from 5/8 to 6/8. And you could do the opposite with subtraction if you needed to. All right, well, that's all the time we have today. Your objective was to be able to use the number line to model fractions. Feel free to go back and watch this video as many times as you need to. See you later.